You gotta have patience, and you gotta be after something. You gotta be after that freedom. That's gotta be your number one most important thing. So, freedom to do whatever I want is my most important thing in music. So, anything that takes that away, I'm not messing with it.
Rest in peace to the legend Mac Miller. But this video isn't about his untimely passing. It's about a triumph he had in a pivotal time in his career.
I did it all without a Drake feature.
Faces is often pointed to as Mac Miller's best project. And if you look at his entire discography, it's probably his most important project. Because after Faces, you can see the freedom he had to create and release whatever he wanted to. The tape is introspective, it gets dark, but more than anything, Faces is where Mac truly found himself as an artist. That's why, even through all the subjects of depression and addiction, you can still hear pieces of triumph within the music.
It's dark and depressing, like, I mean, it is, like, it's bad, but it's beautiful. It's fucking beautiful.
The energy was good. Like, that's what's kind of weird about it is, like, you know, with a lot of the stuff from Faces and Balloonerism, you listen to it and people are like, what were you guys doing in there? Were you like in a graveyard at midnight with fucking, you know, deer horns? You know, like what the fuck is going on? Like, why does everybody want to die? But it was not like that. It was you know, it was like this jubilant time for him.
Mac was constantly evolving. That evolution started years earlier with Macadelic and watching movies with the sound off. Before that process, Mac was almost a prisoner to his own success. He was only 17, 18 years old, blowing up off YouTube freestyles and his various mixtapes. But that early success came with the cost. People underestimated just how much he cared about actually making music. Critics boxed him in. Much of the rap world didn't take him seriously. He was viewed more as a fun act than a real artist.
When I first come out, it's kind of hard to believe that I was actually serious. You know, it's hard to digest the idea of me, especially with like what songs are being big. You know what I'm saying?
But he was the white college rapper guy that would go sell out the House of Blues everywhere. Like there was like 4 or 5 of the version of that, and basically ignorance. And I had met him right around watching movies. I was like, damn, he nice. He nice. Like,
he gets busy.
But it was only because I didn't listen. But by the way, he got that a lot.
It's funny because Mac evolved so much that this era in his career has become somewhat forgotten in time, but Mac was indeed a pivotal figure within the early 2010s blog era. His reputation within the blog era is what critics and naysayers tried to box him within to. Mac during this time was signed to Rostrum Records. Rostrum is an independent label founded out in Pittsburgh that Mac signed to in 2010 that already had Wiz Khalifa on the roster. Wiz during this time was scorching hot, and Mac was attempted to make his own name on the label. With both artists being from Pittsburgh, of course Mac was often being compared to Wiz.
He started like kind of after I was doing what I was doing, so it was people associated me and him together, like I was doing that for him or something like that. But he was just inspired by what he was around, and as soon as he like branched off and started doing his thing, he gained his own identity, his own fan base, his own expectations of what his music is.
I never wanted our music to really be combined like that. I wanted to be separate. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to have my own vision and my own journey and my own path.
To break away from that shadow, Mac dropped Kids, his breakout mixtape, and chose to do so without a Wiz Khalifa feature. That was a conscious decision to stand alone and prove he wasn't just a little homie to Wiz, and Kids blew up.
Then when it came to drop Kids, we talked about it, and it was like, nah, man, he's not gonna get on the mixtape because I'm trying to like, you know, I don't want to be known my whole life as Wiz's little homie. You know what I mean? Like, that's my big homie, but it's like I want to carve my own path, and that's something that's real important to both of us. So, you know, I'm really trying to do my own thing. That's why I'm like doing my own shows and making my own music. Frozen pizza, it's the work of art. I ain't Takamoto on my feet, make my cipher complete. I stay shining like the lights on the street.
Kids did extremely well and put Mac in the ranks of the new school of rappers, but that success brought another label. That's when people started calling him a frat rapper. And man, did people hate frat rappers.
There's definitely a lot of hype and buzz around your name, which is it also brought some haters along the way. If you could say anything to your haters right now, what would it be?
keep hating.
Frat rap was a subgenre in the early 2010s. It was music aimed mostly at college kids, usually music made by white artists for white audiences. Asher Roth is someone from the blog era that is credited to have created that wave, and the trajectory of Asher Roth's career is how critics expected Mac's career to play out.
Hey, you know what he said to me when I first came out?
That was a bold-faced lie.
Hey, you remember this? You remember what you said when I first came out?
Yeah, that you were like a watered-down Asher Roth or something like that?
Yeah, Asher Roth. You were like, I don't get how this is different.
No, I don't think that was exactly what I said.
That's what you said.
Now, do I personally think Kids was a frat rap project? Not really, but the subject matter and imagery of Kids definitely played into that aesthetic. Despite being labeled a frat rapper, the star of Mac Miller continued to grow. In March of 2011, Mac dropped his next project, Best Day Ever, which had more crossover appeal. Songs like Donald Trump and the title track, Best Day Ever, made him a household name. He rode the high of his debut run for the entirety of 2011 and dropped another popular mixtape with I Love Life, Thank You, once he hit 1 million followers. Leading to his debut album, Blue Slide Park, which released in November of 2011.
Yes, that's exactly how I remember it. It was a great idea, and it was a great then, and it's great now. Blue Slide Park. Not many people I know have thought of album titles that good. Blue Slide Park. 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 Blue Slide. Blue Slide Park. Blue Slide Park. Blue Slide Park. Yes.
Mac had every reason to be proud of Blue Slide Park. The album debuted at #1 on the Billboard Top 200 and became the first independently distributed debut to top the Billboard since 1995.
The album came out.
Did
Blue Slide Park.
Oh, you got it.
I had to buy it, man. I had to buy it. You know what I'm saying? Had to go to Zia Records and cop my copy on Tuesday. Dude, I just read online that projected to be #1 on the charts, brother.
I know, man. It's the first. If it happens, I don't want to jinx myself, but if it would happen that I hit #1, which the projections are saying that that's gonna happen, if I do hit #1, I'll be the first independent release #1 since
Dogpound.
Dogpound.
I just read that. That's
Which
crazy.
would be crazy.
Dude.
And that's the only other one ever.
There was a downside to that success though. Despite exceeding expectations commercially, the album was heavily panned by critics. Most famously, music publication Pitchfork gave the album a 1 out of 10. They put in an article that the Pittsburgh rapper is mostly just a crushingly bland and intolerable version of Wiz Khalifa.
I got a pocket full of posies, some devil with a pitchfork, he talking like he know me.
The review from Pitchfork is the most popular to be known as the review that Mac took personally, but it wasn't just that particular review. It was a bunch of reviews from different outlets that Mac took to heart.
How's the reception been? I mean, look, I know your fans are gonna love it no matter what.
Yeah, it's
but I
dope,
know that
man.
Dude, there's one thing about you that I'm sure you know. Any blog you go to, if it's a Mac Miller post, there's so many haters.
Oh, hella haters.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think you might have more haters than any other rapper.
I know, it's great though.
How's that feel?
I mean, it depends, man. Like there's some shit, you know. Like I was reading this allhiphop.com review of my album.
I just saw that it was like 6.5 out of 10.
Bashed it. Like it was like for the review that they wrote, you would have thought that they gave it a 0 out of 10. Like
Right.
this shit was horrible.
I read a little.
He felt that the criticism was more about him as a person than about his music. He talked about this in Complex. He said, a lot of the reviews were more on me as a person. You're 19, you're so excited to put out your first album, you put it out, and no one has any respect for you or for what you did.
Like when my album came out, people didn't really listen to the album, they just hated on me and carried that over to the album.
The newness of fame was wearing off, and Mac was ready to shed that frat rap persona completely and prove he could really rap. That mission is what Macadelic was all about, and for the first time the rap world was starting to take notice of what he was capable of.
Cool, I made that kids mixtape, which was more like very lighthearted, right? And then Best Day Ever, and my whole thing, I had this whole thing like, yo, I'll just be the guy that's always positive, you know, for these kids to look at because they need someone like that. And I started blowing up. But then what happened is that all these like, right, feel like I can't rap because of that, right? You know, and then I was like, hold on, that's up because I can rap for real, I can, and then
you know, so I had to get back onto some rap.
Macadelic released in March of 2012, just a few months after Blue Slide Park. Mac made a sharp turn creatively. He abandoned that upbeat sound that made him a commercial success and leaned into a more darker, more psychedelic sound. Some at his label felt like it was too sudden of a change, but Mac didn't care. He finally felt like he had something real to say.
But then like Macadelic was more of like, you know, like that's over. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm used to everything now. Like, I've been touring for like fucking 2 years now, you know? Like I've been doing this shit for like not a long time, but for a little bit. So like I got a chance to step back and like assess the situation and like really like, you know, deep dive within myself to like think about what I wanted to say. You know, that's what I've really, you know, have been focusing on, is like, what do I want to say with my music? You know, like it's I love to party, but like that's what people think is all me. They're like, oh, he just likes to party.
The music was different, but the brand around Mac Miller hadn't caught up yet. He was still booked at college venues, still expected to perform like the old Mac Miller, and that made the Macadelic tour difficult. And behind the scenes, he was struggling heavily with addiction, specifically lean. And I want to be careful with that, because I'm not trying to say his personal struggles were caused by his career frustrations or vice versa. Mac talked about this in an article with The Spin. Let me clear this up. Everyone thinks that I read the Pitchfork article and then got addicted to drugs. The drugs thing had been a part of my life since I was young as hell. I just didn't talk about it as much.
The Macadelic tour. Because I was doing this, I love this mixtape. Did this tour, I would perform the mixtape, no one knew anything. So I just went through this period where I thought I was like just on my way out, I guess.
You know, I mean, he got worked hard, like to go out there and like, you know, booking agents typically for a new artist, like they run you as hard as they can. They milk you for every dollar they can, because most artists have 2 years in them. And the booking agents know this, you know, and so he ran hard for his first 2 years, you know, and then some.
After the Macadelic tour ended, Mac wasn't interested in being on the road anymore, something he had been doing for 2.5 years since the Kids era. What he really wanted to do was to create, so he moved to LA and locked himself in the studio. He built a home studio in this house that he called The Sanctuary. The Sanctuary is where he started to produce more and created one of his many aliases like Larry Fisherman. This is the place where he started to form connections with different artists within the music world, like Thundercat, The Internet, TDE, Odd Future, Vince Staples, and the list goes on.
Well, it all started with me kind of building the studio, which is The Sanctuary. When I'm working with Germ and E, at some point they're like, all right, I gotta go sleep. So like, now that I have my own studio, I could be there till crazy hours. You know, I was working really ridiculous hours, sleeping in there, not showering for a week and just staying in that room the whole time. It was like very dedicated. Plus like all the people I got to work with out there and the collaborations and people that I've built, you know, friendships with.
To me, 2013 is one of the apex years in the career of Mac Miller, because that year had flashes of the old Mac Miller and what was to come. If you were a fan of radio-friendly Mac, he still fed that audience when he featured on Ariana Grande's first hit song, The Way. His personality and visibility was still on the forefront with this MTV2 show, Mac Miller and the Most Dope Family. Even with all that momentum in 2013, Mac was on a different mission. He wasn't chasing hits. He was preparing to release the music he had been crafting in The Sanctuary, and everything he was planning to drop was a rebellion against the artists that people thought they knew. In June of 2013, Mac released Watching Movies with the Sound Off.
Yeah, the purpose of the new album is just to like expand your mind, you know, and don't believe anything you hear, and trust in your own vision and trust in your own intelligence and your own possibility, and no one can tell you shit about yourself.
We just saved the day. I waste away in a room spitting these raps. Yahweh put the world in my hands. I'm rap, so we kick the drums. All the best rappers are usually dead, but I'm the poison that left the widow Juliet.
If Macadelic was about proving he could rap, Watching Movies was about proving he could do everything else. He produced more, he sang more. The Space Migration sessions showed Mac performing songs from Watching Movies with The Internet as his backing band, creating a new standard for what a Mac Miller performance would look like.
Told me I'ma set you free. Yeah, you ain't gonna break your heart again.
Watching Movies with the Sound Off came in at number 3 on the Billboard, coming behind J. Cole's Born Sinner and Kanye West's Yeezus. But musically, it was right on par, and critics finally acknowledged the growth of Mac Miller.
Like, for instance, first week I don't think it's gonna do the same numbers that Blue Slide Park did, but what I do think is when it's all said and done, this album will be more, you know, because I don't think I have to do as much. I think the music is doing it for me. I don't need to push these records and do all this promo work. It's just like, listen to the music.
my work here is done.
2013 was a real comeback year for Mac. In total, he dropped 4 projects. Stolen Youth with Vince Staples dropped just 2 days after watching movies. Mac produced every track on Stolen Youth under his Larry Fisherman alias. He then went on to release one of his darkest and experimental tapes, Delusional Thomas. Then came Live from Space, a mixtape featuring live renditions of watching movies tracks and a handful of unreleased songs.
I'm being really careful about what I do. You know, I think I'm gonna build up to something really big in 2014.
By 2014, Mac had proven everything he needed to prove. He was no longer the kid from Kids. He wasn't chasing pop success like on Blue Slide Park, and the rap world finally stopped calling him a frat rapper. But also 2014 marked the end of a chapter. His time in LA, his time in the Sanctuary was coming to a close.
Because all I did for 2.5 years, everyone's like, where you been, where you been, where you been? It was just me in this room with the door closed making music.
The same house where he found his voice was also the place where his worst habits started to spiral. Doing too many drugs, isolating from the people around him. Mac knew this era was coming to an end.
It's like all that whole like self-destruction and you know, it was wild to be around me for a while. I secluded myself in it because I felt like it was just a whole bunch of stuff up here, you know what I mean, where I'm like, I need to be locked away in my creative space because I'm a creative person and no one understands me.
Mac had recorded over 1,000 songs during his time at the Sanctuary. At the time, he recorded Balloonerism, which got shelved. He recorded another project which became the finale, and that finale was Faces.
Because I kept on trying to say goodbye to the studio. In my mind, it is very iconic and it is very like legendary, that room, the Red Room. If all goes according to the plan and we're all legends at the end of this, that room is like a huge thing. That whole last week was the week of outros. Part of the mentality was like, if I die when I leave this room, because that was my fear, was like, I won't survive in the world. I will survive in this little room called the Sanctuary. And I'm saying yes to life. Y'all should say yes to life too and get Faces.
The business of Mac Miller was going to look different from this point forward. His contract with Rostam Records had expired, and Mac decided not to renew with the label.
No, I think it was just time for me to do my own thing, you know. I think it made sense at the time because I'm from Pittsburgh and there's not, you know, there's not a lot of keys and they opened doors for me. You know what I mean? So, but once I walked through them, I had to be like, all right, yo, thanks, and then be out.
You need to see the way you do things because you move differently. You have your own interests.
Right. I have my own way of doing things. And it's no disrespect or nothing they did wrong, but I just had to build my own thing that was separate.
Without a label, without a rollout, on May 11, 2014, on Mother's Day, Mac uploaded Faces for free.
I believe in free music. I killed myself making this music and I'm gonna give it to y'all for free.
I'm not perfect, but they ain't either. I did it all without a J feature. Hands up like this.
Faces wasn't the end of the Mac Miller story, but it was the end of a chapter, the end of isolation, the end of the Sanctuary, the end of having something to prove.
I had this whole period of like, man, like, fuck this. You know what I mean? Like, just because of what the perception of me became. But like, I don't. Those were great times in my life,
that's
man.
where you were at that time. That's your art. That's part of your history.
I was just fucking swagged the fuck out, like just rapping, and the shit took off, man. Like, what do I have to be mad at? Like, yeah, the musicality of fucking some things aren't at the level they are now, but that's what I'm supposed to do, is get better.
Yeah.
I love when people are like, man, don't take any offense to this, but this shit is better than your older shit. I'm like, duh, motherfucker, it's
you progress,
newer. Yeah, like, what am
now.
I supposed to do?
Yeah,
make shit that's not as good?
After Faces, Mac took a step back, and for the first time in a long time, he just started living life again.
Finally, like when I moved and stuff, I was like, you know what? I should like go out, man.
I knew Mac was a true artist and not just chasing a bag because he didn't stay in that dark sound, that dark bubble. He really could have, because the music worked and connected to people. Instead, he decided to pivot and wake up from that world he created in LA once he released Good AM. Mac was constantly evolving, and that's real freedom. But you don't get there in the story of Mac Miller if he doesn't close that chapter with Faces.
The part that I loved about where he was and where he was going is that I feel like he he was becoming free.
With that being said, if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. And if you already subscribed, you know we locked in. And if you don't like this video, that's fine too. That's actually great. Just make sure to dislike but subscribe. I'm sure I have something you'll like soon. It's RammButta, and I am out.
We in between heaven and hell.